Alrighty, we're back. Thanks for staying with us. It's officially 9:21. We got about 40 minutes left. We got Jimmy Lowell that's here, Jeff Frazier, Chad is kind of here, Jim Powers still in the room, and Deborah Young, and of course Sharmi, who put together and organized, as only Sharmi can do, this past presentation of the evidence that supports the need to pass the forfeiture law. It requires conviction before forfeiture. And Sharmi wants to talk about that a little bit and explain in more detail. So please, Sharmi, take it away.
Thank you, Michael. I want to just translate my greeting earlier. Hamatakiapi is hello, family. It's in Dakota. Yeah. Hung Papa Dakota. And P2 Washte just means good day, hello. But I was inspired by Fraser here, speaking Spanish so eloquently, but I apologize to my elders for my bad pronunciation in Dakota. I do. So this past Tuesday, Comorn Law brought a panel of SWAT and forfeiture victims to testify at the hearing that Representative Lucido magically was able to obtain in the House Judiciary Committee on House Bill 4158, which requires a conviction before final forfeiture proceedings. And as almost all of our listeners likely know, or if not, I'm going to tell you, we've, for the last 8 or 9 years, been under a systemic attack from the Attorney General's office and from law enforcement overall, who have a long-term strategy in place to remove protections provided by the Medical Marijuana Act. There's been a 14% increase in marijuana arrests since 2008 when we passed the law. It's not a mistake. It's not a coincidence. It's because they're going out, and the drug task forces are going out and raiding folks and taking their stuff and arresting everybody and just sorting it out later. And unfortunately, that usually ends up in Michael's lap, the sorting it out later part. But thank God for you, Michael Comorn. All of these atrocities, everything that I've been yelling about for so long, civil rights violations in the form of excessive force, child endangerment, sexual harassment, everything that Michael's been yelling about for so long, prosecutorial misconduct, cops lying on the stand. They lie all the time. Every time I'm in the courtroom with Michael, the cops lie on the stand. And he catches them, and then they have to go away. Nothing happens to them, but they do. And the prosecutors have malicious prosecution. There's a whole long litany of problems with the Medical Marijuana Act that were created by the law enforcement agencies in the state. And they're all attached to civil asset forfeiture. All of them are a direct result of the campaign in Michigan to remove protections provided in the Act, because then you're not subject to forfeiture. This bill is incredibly important. The testimony that Michael provided. Did we queue up the testimony? Say yes.
20 seconds. Sure.
All right. So I want folks to go get a pen and paper. For your younger kids, you can maybe find that in Grandma's purse, honey. A little pen and a pad of paper. Or you can put it on your phone. You can, put this information in your phone. But we really need folks to engage in a calling campaign. We want you to call your legislator and urge them to vote yes on House Bill 4158. And after you hear this testimony from Attorney Michael Comorn, 18, 19, 20.
Michael Corman,
nice.
Here with some of his clients. If you'd please come forward and begin when you're ready.
Yeah. I can't hear it in the headphones, I don't think.
It's off now.
It's off.
No, he's sitting down.
He's just sitting down. He's approaching.
This is a video. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it takes Michael a second to sit down.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Comorn. I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I've been practicing for about 25 years. I'm also the president of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association. I want to thank the chairman and the Judiciary Committee and Representative Lucido for championing this important cause that, from my personal experience as a lawyer, has been quite brutal on the citizens of Michigan. With me are two clients of mine that I've represented in court proceedings. Both I would describe as being victims of both the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act bad interpretations and also forfeiture law. And we've submitted for review, I have like an index of various events that have taken place in some cases that I think evidence or should hopefully convince you that there are some real problems with the existing forfeiture law. And I want to just point out there's some very unusual things that are unique to forfeiture law that are uncommon to the principles of governance that we understand. Like the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, there's this concept of immunity, and in forfeiture there's this concept of constitutionally protected property. And what unfortunately happens is both the person's immunity and their right to property is determined at the time by the police without any kind of due process. In other words, there's, unlike a driver's license or some other entitlement that the government gives, there's no hearing between a neutral detached magistrate. To get a search warrant, we require a independent, neutral, not the police making the decisions when they can go into a home. This does not take place with forfeiture. They're inside of a home, they're executing a search warrant, and it is they that decide what property is subject to forfeiture. And they also decide that the person is outside of compliance with the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, which is not always the case. And the reason why these individuals are here is really to emphasize the point that they are people that were charged with crimes and utilized the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act to defend and or have the charges dismissed. And independent of that, they still were victims of forfeiture. Ms. Jocelyn had her house forfeited with the Attorney General's office, and it turned out a year later when she was charged criminally, it was an illegal search warrant that was found, and all the evidence in the criminal case was thrown out. Had this law been in effect, she would not have been subject to that particular forfeiture of her home. Mr. Fisher defended himself under Section 8 of the Michigan Medical Marijuana in Isabella County. There was a forfeiture proceeding that had been stayed pending the outcome of the criminal case. The criminal case resulted in a dismissal of all charges. The MMA says if you prevail under Section 8, there shall be no forfeiture. And when we went to try to get the property returned, the prosecutor's office filed a motion to recuse the judge. Recuse the judge because one time, 17 years ago, the judge made a negative comment about forfeiture. Things are getting strange, and things are very unusual amongst government officials in this arena. And after litigating that and having the court find that the judge should not be disqualified, we got an order to return the property. My client went out to return the property, and they still haven't returned all of the property. This is abnormal behavior. There are things that I think most citizens wouldn't expect to happen. Oftentimes I have to explain to clients not just why the police think they violated the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, but I have to explain to them the forfeiture law, how they have to fight to get back their property. So I want to have my clients speak as to their experience, but from my perspective, my experiences is that there is a rampant abuse, and I think the statistics speak for themselves. 2012, $25 million brought in on forfeiture proceeds, and this last year reporting $15 million. I always understood that the legislature was the one that created the budget, had the purse strings. I don't know of any other government agencies that are given a budget and then go out and earn money on top of that and use the money for their own purposes, and that is the system that's been set up. So I'd like to let my clients speak a little bit, and I would encourage you to vote in favor of passing this bill.
Hi, thank you to the committee for hearing us today. My name's Amanda Jocelyn. I'm a caregiver, I'm a patient, I'm a mother, daughter, neighbor, and a friend. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I'm also a victim of policing by profit. My son and myself were raided, jailed, and prosecuted by the state for medical marijuana, and some of the same behavior that is currently being licensed. The activities are being licensed right now. I'm in support of the bill 4158. In 2015, after receiving local approval, the state of Michigan raided my home, seized my property, money, closed my businesses, took my cars, home, computers, my kids' game systems. My son had been saving his paycheck since he was 17. He was 21 when this happened, and all of that was gone. And you tell a 21-year-old something like that, I'm sorry, but the police and the government won't give our stuff back. And this was all prior to us being charged, by the way. When the forfeiture took place, there were two separate cases, the criminal and the civil. The civil had already been given away by the time the criminal case had been concluded, which, as Mr. Comorn mentioned, it was dismissed for a violation of civil rights. So, or excuse me, Fourth Amendment. So, I see that there are staggering statistics out there on the arrest rates for rape at 14%, murder rate, arrest rate is at 30%, and then the drug arrests are at 80%. And we take a look at that and we wonder what the motivation is. Well, we can't take money from a sexual offender. We can't take money from a murderer. But we can, however, take money from the low-hanging fruit, which is the medical marijuana community, and seize all their assets. We have individuals that are participating in a consensual act, and they're being wiped out financially, emotionally, spiritually, just broken. No means of hiring attorneys or even feeding their children. And again, there's no money to prosecute or to arrest rapists or murderers, so the low-hanging fruit is what is picked. My two sons and myself are three of the many Michigan residents that fell victim of policing by profit, and we are victims of the drug war. Interestingly, many of which, not only myself, in many cases, these folks are never charged with a crime. However, all of their things that they've worked for so many years are just gone. And imagine, if you will, having a complete stranger go and rifle through your closet, your drawers, every little private nook in your home, and just throw it all over the place and then pick and choose what they'd like to take home with them. They took even a steam mop. And all of this was based on an illegal search warrant. And they